Alrighty, so here we go. It's time to do the preview of the weekend's action. It's now match week number 17, as we have now pretty much officially hit the halfway point of the season, if you count how many games that is being played by most of these teams. And it's hard to believe that, yeah, if we hit the halfway point of the season, we still have one team that is currently winless, and we'll definitely get to it. And obviously, the jersey that I'm wearing right now for this preview pretty much symbolize that team that is still winless so far this season. But with that being said, as I mentioned, there's 13 games that's going to be happening this weekend, and it was supposed to be 15 games, but obviously the Vancouver Whitecaps, their game got postponed because they got the CONCACAF Champions Cup final against Cruz Azul, and then the LAFC game got postponed because they had to play in a play-in round against Club America in the Club World Cup. But alas, we're going to have your usual 2 Saturday matinee game, then you get the busy action between 7:30 p.m. Eastern all the way to midnight 30 p.m. Eastern time, and we only are going to get one Sunday game between the Seattle Sounder and Minnesota United, and then of course after that, that's when we see the big one where the Vancouver Whitecaps are going to be playing against Cruz Azul in the CONCACAF Champions Cup final, and I hope that at the end of that game we'll be talking about the Vancouver Whitecaps being the second team in MLS history to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and if that is going to be the case, there's no doubt that I'm going to do a video talking about them and maybe even make a comparison to the Seattle Sounders when they won the CONCACAF Champions League just a couple of years ago and finally break the ice and also uh, climb at the top of the mountain that every MLS team wasn't able to do so until the Sounders did, which is conquered the CONCACAF Champions uh, mountain. But that being said, let us begin. We'll talk about the first game of this match week, with the first one being St. Louis versus the San Jose Earthquakes. So it is not very often that I talk about the Quakes being in a matinee game. In fact, it's been a long time. I remember the Quakes playing in an early game like that. And when you play an early game like that, that could be very interesting to see how ready this team is, as this game starts at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific. So yes, it is early, but not like incredibly early as we've seen some West Coast team has. I remember a couple of years ago when the Quakes play against NYCFC. That game started at 9:30 in the morning in terms of West Coast time. That must have really messed up a lot of the players' routine. The fact that, yeah, it's a lunchtime kickoff game in the East Coast, but it's pretty much breakfast time in the West Coast. That is. Now, in terms of the all-time meeting, we know that St. Louis has absolutely dominated against the Quakes. They have won all four meetings, and they're looking to make it 5-0-0, and especially with the way that the Olaf Melberg era has come to a close in a relatively quick fashion. Now you're just thinking, are they going to get that new interim head coach boost coming into this game against a Quakes team that is coming off of a big victory in the Cali Clasico against the LA Galaxy, and that, yeah, it's kind of unfortunate the fact that after that big victory that they have just such a short turn around, especially playing in a matinee game like that. So we'll see how Bruce Arena is going to juggle in terms of maybe rotating his roster. I mean, I think Bruce Arena, he's going to respect St. Louis in this one, especially, anytime when you have a new interim head coach comes into the team, that they're going to be playing much better compared to what they've been doing throughout the season. And I've no doubt that I would not be surprised if St. Louis might play their best game in this one, because a lot of these guys, they want to improve in this one, but also impress their new interim head coach so that they can fight for a position as the season goes along. So yeah, should be very interesting to see how St. Louis is going to be. But more importantly for the Quakes, it's important that, after that big Cali Clasico win that they had on Wednesday, can they keep this unbeaten run as well? It's hard to believe, but this team have now gone on an 8-game unbeaten run. That's the first time that has happened to the Quakes in a very long time. I think 2005 was the last time we've seen the Quakes went on that long of an unbeaten run in a season. Now, moving on, we got Nashville versus NYCFC. So this game will start at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Nashville is one of the hottest teams right now in the league. 8-4-4, and you talk about unbeaten run. I think they're now 8 or 9 games unbeaten so far this season. They're facing against an NYCFC side that has just been the definition of inconsistency. I mean, this season it's been very up and down for this Pascal Janssen side. They have a 7-3-6 record. Now, one thing I will say about NYCFC is that they have had a knack in terms of beating some good teams this season. I mean, they have been able to get wins against some of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. The problem is they did most of that at home. This is a road game for them, and we know this. We know that they are not a good road team. This even goes back to last year as well, and this season they've only won one so far on the road. Well, Nashville has been just rock solid so far this season at home. They only lost once so far at Geodis Park. But in terms of the all-time meeting, 3-1 and 2 in favor of Nashville SC, and I expect probably Nashville are looking to try to get 3 points a game, especially after getting that impressive resort in the middle of the week against Columbus, going against one of the toughest team and one of the toughest places to get points. I'm pretty sure BJ Callahan will be ready in this game as well and trying to get his team 3 points again, returning home, especially against an NYCFC team that you just don't know what kind of NYCFC team will show up. Though mostly it's probably going to be a bad NYCFC team because it's a road game for them. Now, speaking of bad teams, who would have thought that this matchup would be between two teams that are not in relatively good form? I mean, for Toronto, we kind of expected it. We knew this was going to be a rough season. I did not expect this from Charlotte FC. And again, you thought that they turned that corner when they got that big win last weekend against Columbus. And then the next game happened against the Red Bulls. And while they were competitive in that game against the Red Bulls, my goodness, the defense of this team, what has gone wrong with Dean Smith's defensive structure? This is supposed to be one of the best defensive team last season, but yet they are leaking goals left and right. Now the good news is that they might have a chance to improve their defensive style against this TFC side that is one of the lowest goal scoring team in the league. By the way, this also kicked off first of 6 games that's happened at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, and there's going to be at a time where there's going to be 8 games at the same time. So when that happens, it's time to ground hop on Saturday. But yeah, like I said, this is a game that I would say that this is a game where Charlotte desperately need a win because this is probably one of their easier road games that they're going to get this season. They have a very heavy road schedule that is coming up, and that yeah, this is a game that they have to take advantage, especially against a TFC side. But I will say about this TFC side, yes, they're not playing great soccer, but they're making their opposition earn it. I think they've been playing that tough kind of brand of soccer where you're not going to see a lot of high scoring affair. That TFC, of course, would be involved, but it's okay because that's just kind of the learning process. When you're a bad team like TFC is and a team that doesn't have a lot of talent, you just sometimes have to make it gritty and make it tough for your opposition to play against. And I think so far, at least when we've seen these last month or two, Robin Fraser has done a great job in terms of making that team really gritty to play, and a team that nowadays when you play against Toronto, it's not as easy as it was in the beginning of the season. You really need to earn your free points when you play against Toronto, and Charlotte need they definitely need to know that, and they especially need to get all 3 points too because of the recent slump that this team is in. Now, moving on, we got Orlando versus the Chicago Fire. So Orlando 7-6-3, whereas the Fire is 5-4-5. Now, in terms of the all-time meeting, 8-8-6 in favor of Orlando City. So there's no doubt that for Orlando, they want to wipe away what happened on Wednesday night against Atlanta. I mean, just an absolute self-inflicted meltdown that they had against Atlanta, and it doesn't help the fact that they face against one of the best road teams this season. The Chicago Fire is one of the better road team. I believe they actually had the middle of the week off, so they get more times to prepare for this game. But yeah, this I think could be a very underrated matchup. Orlando City has done very well this season at home, and they've been a very fun team to watch at home. And now you're facing against a team that is very good on the road. Something tells me that yeah, this could be a fascinating matchup, and could also be a matchup where we could see a lot of goals. Because one thing I know about Orlando City when they're playing at home, they tend to score a lot of goals, but also at times maybe give up goals, especially against this Fire team that likes to score goals this season. Now, moving on, we got Montreal versus the New England Revolution. So Montreal, yeah, it's been a very disappointing season for this side. 1-5-10 is their record, whereas New England 5-5-4 is their record. New England's actually on an 8-game unbeaten run in all competition, but they've been drawing a lot of games and dropping points that they pretty much would feel like they should have got those points. But that being said, all-time meetings 17-4-13 in favor of the Revs. Now, last time when New England played against Montreal at Stade Saputo, it was not close whatsoever. I mean, New England won 5-0 in that game against a poor Montreal side. Well, actually, I say poor, but Montreal was not bad last season. So something tells me that who knows, maybe Caleb Porter can do it again, especially against a Montreal team that doesn't really have a lot of confidence so far this season and are basically gifting goals left and right again. Now, moving on, speaking of a team that's been gifting goal left and right, that would be Inter Miami. So, they did get a win against Montreal in the last game, but let's be honest, when you look at these wins that Miami has got, which hasn't been a lot, surprisingly, during this bad run of form, they had to score a lot of goals in terms of overcome the bad defensive mistake. Now they're facing against a Columbus side that it's hard to believe, but as good as Columbus have played, they're actually on a 5-game winless run. They have not won a game in the last 5 games. They've drawn a lot of games lately. 4 of their 5 games during this winless run came in a draw, and there's no doubt that they won revenge in this game against Miami. I thought Columbus played really well last time when they played against Inter Miami in Cleveland. Problem was they just couldn't finish, and we saw how Inter Miami basically punished Columbus for the reason why they couldn't finish. Now that being said, Columbus have a 7-7-2 record. Miami has a 7-5-3 record. All-time meeting 6-1-3 in favor of Inter Miami. And as I said, with Inter Miami, while they can get away with their defensive shortcoming against Montreal, as that Montreal, of course, one of the worst team in the league and literally dead last right now in the Eastern Conference. You can't do that against the Columbus Crew. And I know Columbus has had their issue when it comes to finishing. I think that last game against Nashville was a great example of it, where I feel like for the Will Nancy side, even though at times they dominate games, they're not putting away the chances, mainly because they really miss Cucho Hernandez in this team, and there's no doubt that in the summer they're really gonna be looking for a clinical goal scored and almost a Cucho Hernandez replacement. I mean, Daniel Gasnick was supposed to be that player, but he hasn't really lived up to expectation so far, and I'm pretty sure he's just still trying to learn the Nancy ball system that is completely different than the system that he is used to in Philadelphia. But yeah, there's no doubt that I think in the summer they're definitely looking for that proven goal scored. But for now, they're still a team that can create a lot of chances, that they can actually finish those chances, because we've seen before where if you finish chances against Inter Miami, because they're gonna give you a lot of them, you're gonna not only beat this Miami team, but maybe embarrass the this Inter Miami side. I mean, just as Minnesota and Orlando when they did finish their chances, how much Miami was just in absolute disarray as a result. Now, moving on, we got Cincinnati versus DC United. So Cincinnati, yeah, it's been a bit problematic in these last couple of games. And you talk about defensive problems. Cincinnati has had defensive problems. These last 2 games, they've given up 7 goals. This is supposed to be one of the best defensive team under Pat Nolan, but the Nick Hagelin injury that has really took a toll to a point where I thought, while Nick Hagelin is important to this team, I didn't think it was just going to really just completely wreck this defense in these last 2 games, because they have not looked the same on the defensive end ever since Hagelin went down with the injury. Now they have a chance to trying to get themselves 3 points against a lowly DC side that have a 3-6-7 record. Cincinnati have a 9-3-4 record. Now, all-time meeting, surprisingly, DC actually has the all-time meeting 5-4-4 in favor of DC, but something tells me that could be changed relatively soon, because, like I said, this is a Cincinnati team. They definitely want to win, especially when you're facing against a lowly team like that, and knowing that Cincinnati has done well against teams that they should beat, you expect Pat Nolan's side should get the victory and maybe even try to keep a clean sheet in this one, because it's kind of alarming how many goals that they've given up in the last couple of games, and even more alarming the fact that it feels like it's almost like last season all over again, where when injuries start to hit the back line, they don't have the depth to do so, and it just kind of falls apart after that. Now, moving on, we got the New York Red Bulls versus Atlanta United. So both of these teams are probably going to be very confident coming into this game. Both of them coming off of big win. The Red Bulls, of course, getting that big win recently as well against Charlotte, and then Atlanta, of course, that incredible come from behind win against Orlando City. Now the Red Bulls have a 7-3-6 record. Atlanta 4-5-7. All-time meeting 10-6-3 in favor of the New York Red Bulls. And again, anytime when both of these teams meet each other, I remember back when both of these teams were at their best back in like 2018 or so. This was a very talk about game, almost becoming like a bit of a rivalry. Now, obviously, it really has lost that luster, but there's no doubt that both of these teams will want to get a win, and especially in Atlanta cases, again, have they turned the ship? I feel like they might these last 2 games have kind of that things kind of turn around. I mean, the attack is still not generating like all the high end talent that they have on the attack. You know, despite the goals that they've scored, it hasn't really come from that $50 million tax. That is going to be something that they're hoping to get going because we know that this team leaks goal. And also, speaking of leaking goal, don't be surprised it could be a high scoring game. The Red Bulls have for whatever reason these some of these games have leaked goals at an alarming rate. Well, they can also score goals and have some really good attacking talent as well. So I'm surprised maybe this could be a fun game to watch. And if it is a high scoring game, I don't think that really favors the Red Bulls because so far as we know about Atlanta United this season, they only win games when it's 5+ or more goals. If there's 5 or more goals in a game, you know the Five Stripes are probably going to win that one. Now, moving on, we got Houston versus Sporting KC. So the Dynamo are kind of in a bit of a resurgence lately with a 5-5-6 record and are really close in terms of getting themselves in playoff contention. You imagine saying that a couple of weeks ago for Ben Olsen's side that is near the gutter of the Western Conference. Now, a team that is still kind of in the gutter of the Western Conference is Sporting KC. They're kind of started to lose a little bit of that new interim head coach boost and started to kind of revert back to a team that is not having a great season with a 3-4-8 record. Now, all-time meeting 18, 14, and 16 in favor of Sporting KC. And like I said, you know, for Ben Olsen, his side has really gone for a bit of a resurgence in the last couple of games. That big victory against NYCFC, especially a victory where they pretty much put a lot of backup players in that one and still were able to get a win on the road. I think Ben Olsen's going to be very happy about that. But now bring his starter back into this one, you would expect that this Dynamo team should be able to get the victory again, especially against an SKC side that again they kind of have lost a little bit of that new interim head coach boost that they of course got, and a big part of it is because you know the attack has been kind of sputtering again for this team, but the defense, as always, has been pretty bad as for the Sporting KC side. Now, moving on, we got Dallas versus the Philadelphia Union. So this is the second time in a row where that Dallas is going to be playing against an interconference matchup, and it's also the second time where they face against one of the best team in the Eastern Conference. In fact, not only one of the best, but the best team in the Eastern Conference. That is the Philadelphia Union with a 10-3-2 record. Dallas have a 4-5-6 record, and towards the all-time meeting, Dallas actually have matched up against the Union well. 8-5-2 is the record. The Union has had their struggles against FC Dallas. I'm not quite sure why that is the case, but they're looking to override that. Though it's not going to be easy because you know they've been on the road these last two of game. Well, they were at home, but they were on the road against Toronto, and they had a hard fought victory. Now that they have to travel, not really across the other side of the country, but kind of down in Texas, especially in the heat. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see how Bradley Cornell can manage that, especially against a Dallas team that, again, because they're playing at home in this game, you know they're not going to score a lot of goals. I mean, it's just the rule of Dallas this season, where when they're on the road, you know Peter Quill's side is going to be playing an entertaining brand of soccer. When they're at home, they're not playing that brand of soccer. You'll be lucky if they score more than 2 goals in a game, and do not be surprised that this could be a low scoring affair again, and even maybe Dallas can cause a bit of an upset. I mean, I say that, but Dallas, as much as they play these high scoring affairs, a lot of them has ended up in draw, so they're not getting the wins that they need to get themselves higher up in the standings. Now, moving on, we got San Diego versus Austin. So this is the first of 3 games that's going to be happening at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, and I say free even though I know there's two. The other game that happened in around that window is the game between LAFC versus Club America. I'm debating whether or not should I do a review of that game because that game I don't know. I feel like for the Club World Cup, I'm not really the. I mean, I am going to still do reviews involving MLS team doing the Club World Cup, but don't expect me to basically do a review for other team as well. This is not like the World Cup that is because again, the Club World Cup it just feels like it's almost like a glorified friendly, though it's still kind of a glorified friendly or tournament that I think MLS team has got to have to take it serious and hope that they don't get absolutely embarrassed on the world stage. But going back to this between San Diego and Austin, San Diego 8-3-5, whereas Austin have a 5-5-6 record. Both of these teams shoulder earlier this season at Q2 Stadium, and Austin actually got the win against San Diego in that one, and that was during a time when San Diego was kind of going for a bit of a downturn. Nowadays, San Diego is definitely prospering, and even though, as I said earlier, that they did lose to the Sounders in the middle of the week, they played relatively well in that game, and unfortunately, they just got Stephen fried in that one. I'm pretty sure they'll be hungry to get all 3 points against an Austin team that, again, this is a team that has been kind of now being mediocre and a team that still have problem when it comes to goal scoring, and the only reason why I think they're at least doing okay doing this mediocre stretch is that the defense has really kind of bailed them out these last couple of games, and really actually not even these last couple of games, but pretty much throughout the season. One thing we know about Austin game is that don't expect there's going to be a lot of goals that to be scored in Austin game. It could be a bit low scoring, and that's going to be something that I think San Diego is about to find out. Also, I do think this matchup might favor Austin, especially with the way that, again, last time when both of these teams play against each other, Austin absolutely blitzed the San Diego team when they go direct on the attack, knowing that San Diego likes to have possession and like to commit a high line. Do not be surprised if Austin might do the same thing again, especially now that they're the road team against the San Diego side that we know when they're playing at home and even play on the road, they're gonna have like a ton of possession. Do not be surprised if the possession could be like 70-30 in favor of San Diego in this one. And then moving on into the last game of the Saturday night action. So here we go. The Galaxy and RSL. Is this finally the game that the Galaxy end their winless run? Can they avoid that dreaded record in terms of becoming the first ever MLS team to go the entire half of the season without a win, and the first ever MLS team to go 17 games without a win? The record, of course, is 16 at any point of the season, and they're currently tied in terms of that mark. Now they play against an RSL team that have a 4-3-9 record in terms of the all-time meeting, 19-9-15 in favor of RSL, and RSL themselves has not had a great run of form lately. I think they're like winless in the last 6 games. So in some way, again, something's gonna have to give in terms of this game, or the fact that this ends up to be a draw, and that not only it does not help anyone, but the record would happen. And again, I will say that for the Galaxy, what's kind of interesting thing about this winless run is that I really don't think they've been playing badly during these last couple of games. Yes, we can talk about the horrendous May that they have, where it's just been nothing but heartbreak for this team. But really, I mean, it's just some of them was just kind of unfortunate situation, and that it was kind of also bad luck at time that is involved in some of these games. Again, they when you look at how they play in the last couple of games, they don't play like a team that is winless right now. They actually have played pretty well, but when you have a team that haven't won a single game in the season and still are kind of lacking in terms of the goal scoring, and also the morale of the team is still at an all time low. I think that's kind of explain why that they've been getting so much bad luck lately, and it just feels like this team is simply cursed. This season. But again, there's a chance that they can finally end this. And again, against an RSL team that have not been playing very well, and are pretty much just praying that Diego Luna can bail them out time after time. Like he's literally trying to do a carry job similar to what we saw Benteke did with DC last season. This is a chance for the Galaxy to finally break the drought. And when that finally happened, not only Galaxy fans are going to treat that like an MLS Cup win like they did last season, but maybe, just maybe that will relieve so much pressure of this team, and just so much relief that will go on this team. I guarantee you, all these players they are really trying hard to finally get their first win. I think these last couple of games have kind of shown that for a team that has gone 16 games without a win, there's no quit in this team, and that's at least got to be reappreciated. When they finally get that first win, there's going to be a huge celebration and a huge lift off their shoulder. And when that finally happened, maybe they can, of course, go on a run. Now, will they make the playoffs? No. This team will probably is dig themselves way too deep of a hole to do so. But I wouldn't be surprised if they finally get that first win, that they start to get things rolling again. And when they do get things rolling again, maybe they'll avoid the next dreaded the thing that they definitely don't want to do, which is the fewest win that any MLS team has gotten in a single season, and also probably on point of the fewest point total that any MLS team has ever got. Because at this stage, they're still on pace of not even finish double-digit points for the entire season, and no team in MLS has ever done that. Not even some of the worst team in the league. I think if I remember, Tampa Bay Mutiny, who has like the worst point total, I think they only had like 12 or 13 points back in 2001. Not even them has reached that mark that the Galaxy will look to avoid of not don't want to be the first team to finish the season with not even double-digit point and even more than 2 wins in the entire season. And then finally, last but not least, we're going to talk about the Sunday night soccer game between Seattle versus Minnesota. And this is kind of weird to say this is a Sunday night soccer game, even though it's literally an afternoon noon game that is. But nevertheless, yeah, this is one that as a Minnesota fan, every time when we face Seattle, I always dread it because yeah, we know the Sounders absolutely own Minnesota. I mean, I don't even need to mention the all time meeting to tell you how much ownage that the Sounders had against Minnesota. I mean, of all the ownage we have seen in the league, with some teams kind of have just straight ownage on the other team, I think this is probably the most lopsided when it comes to the all-time meeting. I mean, Minnesota, it's hard to believe that of the 17 meetings that both of these teams have played against each other, Minnesota have only got one win out of those, and it's not even like they're getting draws out of it. There's only been two other draws between both of these teams. Now that being said, coming into this game, this is definitely, I would say that for this game, I wouldn't be surprised it could be low scoring as well because both of these teams are not known to really be in the high goal scoring chart this season, and especially for Minnesota, my dreaded feeling coming into this game is the fact that because they work really hard defensively against Vancouver. How much of that defensive work that they have on Wednesday, and how much just the fitness level to defend so hard in that game, how much is that going to take a toll on this team against the Sounders team that looking to get another win at home, and not to mention the fact that Minnesota has never actually get a resort against Seattle. I think Seattle has never dropped points against Minnesota at Lumen. So that's how lopsided this affair has gone ever since Minnesota comes to the league. So I'm dreading the fact that this is not going to go well for the Loons, but who knows? Maybe this might be finally the time. Maybe this will finally be the moment that Minnesota finally get their first win against the Sounders, because as the old saying goes, all curses and all bad things eventually is going to come to an end, and maybe this might be the time to do so against the Sounders team. That I'm not going to say the Sounders are playing badly. They've actually been playing really good so far, but there's no doubt that this is not like a world beater Sounders team. This is not going to be a team that I would be shocked if this is going to be a blowout, because Minnesota this season, when you look at the losses that they have, which they only lost 3 times this season, none of the games you could really say that it was really kind of a blowout. Maybe the 3-1 Vancouver resort might be the closest one, but the other one, a 1-0 loss against LAFC, a 2-0 loss against Houston in a game where they didn't even play most of their starters. Yeah, again, this is a team that's not known to get blown out, and also a team that is not known for giving up a lot of goals as well. It's one of the best defensive team in the league, and this Ramsey ball that Minnesota play with this kind of compacted style of play, I wouldn't be surprised it might give the Sounders some trouble, as it is kind of the case with every single team when they face against Minnesota. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the preview of all of these games. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of the preview for this midweek action. And as always, let me know in the comments below your prediction for all 13 games that's going to be happening this weekend. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. And yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time.